Hello. All right, so for today's class, I've got a little bit of info I'm gonna pass on to you guys, and then I'm just gonna go in and do a couple questions, kind of like the last video, from the assignments, kind of as a review, and also to help you get your assignments done, and to help prepare for the midterm coming up. So first off, the big, probably the one piece of news I wanna pass along is I'm gonna start doing some of these lectures on Microsoft Teams. That way I'll be able to get more feedback and see how you guys are doing with the material. So I've set up some stuff on Microsoft Teams, and I've invited everyone in the class to our class Monday at 11:30. So what I'd like you guys to do is go in and just confirm that you have you're set up on Teams, and that you can also see the class. Okay, that when you go into your calendar on Teams, you can see that the class is there and that you've been invited to this class. I think some of the other teachers are doing stuff on using Teams, so this should be pretty easy for you guys. It'll be a little stressful for me because it's the first one I'm doing, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. In terms of the quality of the video, and you guys can hear me, and I'll share my screen. But I've already done a few practice runs, and I think it's going to work really well, and that'll give you guys a chance to ask me questions and let me know if you're confused about something, so that I can plan to cover certain things or review certain things that you guys might be struggling with. Okay, so that's for Monday. Now, another thing to keep in mind too is that the third assignment is due tomorrow. So please complete those assignments and submit them. And the other thing is also the midterm. So part of the reason why I want to get away from doing the YouTube videos, although I kind of like doing them, I've gotten used to it, I guess, is that this midterm is worth 40% of your mark. So it's big, right? Like that's a lot. So it's really important that you guys do well on this midterm. So I want to make sure that if you're struggling with anything, I can be available to help and answer any questions. So I've created this document here, basically just outlining what topics are going to be on the midterm and what the relative weighting of the midterm is. So to start off with multiple choice, put 20 multiple choice on there. Then we're going to have a data definition section. So this one's going to be a little bit small, but it's going to be worth 15 marks. And you're going to do things like creating a table. When you create the table, of course, you have to select the right data type for the columns, whether it's a text column, a variable text column, a date or a number column. You'll have to add the various constraints: primary key, foreign key, check constraint, unique constraint, not null constraints. Okay, we've covered all of these before. You'll have to know the difference between table level, column level constraints, and then basically being able to go and modify and drop tables and insert, delete, update the rows in the tables. So pretty straightforward stuff, and we covered this earlier on in the course. One of the first topics was this. And then after that is the biggest section, is going to be the queries. I'm going to have several queries that I'm going to expect you guys to do for the test. I'm planning to have you guys do the queries in SQL and Oracle Developer. And then you'll submit the queries and the output back to me after you're done. So this is worth 50 marks. And basically I've listed off all the topics we've covered for queries. So basically the simplest ones, doing queries with one table. Then when we start to include the where clause to filter queries, inside there we have an order of precedence. So if we're using an or operator or an and operator, or if we're doing some comparison operators or putting in parentheses, it's important to know what the order of precedence is. So go back and study that in the notes. Also how to handle null values. So avoid using the equals and then null. It has to be is null. Okay, is basically the operator you use to detect a null result. Order by for ordering results. We can use several comparison operators: less than, greater than, equal to, etc. We have the in and between operators that can simplify our logic when we're setting up our where clauses in our queries. And then we're moving on to joining tables. So traditional joins using the join on command, the natural join, the join using, or the traditional method. We have cross joins, we have self joins, and then we have outer joins. And amongst those, we have right outer join, left outer join, full outer join. And there's several methods of doing the join for outer joins. We can do a traditional method, or we can use the join on or join using. And then of course, joining 3 or more tables, and then set operators like intersect or union to basically combine two different queries into one. So that's pretty much all the topics. So the good thing is we're kind of keeping it fairly condensed in terms of what we're going to cover. So pretty much everything up to this point is on the midterm. Okay, so with that said, I think doing the assignments is a great way to practice and prepare yourself. Don't leave the assignments off to the last minute. Get them done. Do a few questions each day is really the best approach. Now, I will be posting some sample questions that we can practice, and we'll probably start doing that next week. Not only will that help with the upcoming assignment, but then we'll use next week to kind of prep for the midterm. And then the week after that, we will probably start with report formatting. That's the next topic. So I'll be starting that next, not this coming week, but the one after. Okay, so let's move on now. So basically, for our assignments, I want to do just a couple more questions. And for assignment 3, okay, so obviously this is due today. It's because I'm shooting the video the day before, but it's due today, the June the 5th. So I was thinking I would do, let's do question 8, all right? So we're using the EX user. We're gonna create a query that displays the distinct department number, employee ID, and last name from departments and employees table using a cross join. So the cross join is kind of a special join that we don't use too often, but it basically, when you cross join 2 tables, you're gonna take every row from the one table, and you're gonna create a new, basically an outputted row with every row from the additional table that you joined it with. So like we said before, if you had 5 rows in one table and 6 rows in another table, you're gonna end up with 30 results. So we're gonna do that join, and then we're gonna sort it by department number, and it needs to be in descending order, and we only display the first 10 records. Okay, so I'm gonna move this off my screen, and I'll fire up my Oracle. All right, so I need to go to the EX user, and that's right here, EX user. Okay, so first off, because I'm using the EX user, I want to do my connect statement. And now I can begin my query. So what I like to do is I say select, and then I say from, and now I'm gonna put in my tables with their aliases. So I want to grab from employees table, and I'm doing a cross join on departments table. Okay, so now let's actually grab the columns that I want. So I want to have the department number, so D dot number. I'm also going to want to have the employee ID, so E dot and I'm also going to want to have the last name. Okay, so last name, I'm going to want to have the employee last name, so E dot. Okay. All right, so let's just run this and just see that we don't have too many errors. Okay, there we go. It actually worked the first time. Okay. So let's look at what we still have to do. So we only want to display, we need to sort it by department number in descending order. So for that, I'm going to use the order by, and I'm going to say d.department number. And because I want it in descending order, I use the keyword DESC. Okay. So if I look at this right now, I can see that the department number is all over the place. It's definitely not sorted. So I will run this again. And now we can see that the department number is sorted. It starts at 5 and it moves all the way down. Okay, so we've done that. Now the next thing it says, it wants us to display the distinct department number, employee ID, last name from departments. So that means I need the distinct keyword in front of department number. So let's run that again. Okay, now I end up with the exact same results because basically the results are going to, there are no repeating values here for the department number, employee ID, and last name. And the last part is I need to display only the first 10 records. So to do that, I'm going to use a where clause. And I want row num. Row num is a built-in column that's automatically added, and I want that to be less than or equal to 10. And there we go. So with this query completed, we see that there's only 10 rows selected, the first 10 rows, and we can see that the department number is ordered in descending order. So that pretty much takes care of that query. It's a fairly simple, straightforward query, but it's one that does use a cross join. So let's just talk a little bit more about the cross join. I'll remove this condition here and I'll run it again, and we notice that we have 45 rows. So if I go into each of these tables, for departments, I have 5 rows in that table, and for employees, I have 9 rows in that table. So if you multiply 5 times 9, you're going to end up with 45. So basically 45 total results. And that's the whole idea of a cross join, that every row in one table gets matched with every row in the other table. Okay, so let's move on. So the other question I was thinking we could do today, let's go and do one from assignment 4 here. Okay, so the one I'm thinking of doing is number 4 because it's a very simple one, and then I can modify it to make it a little bit more interesting. So let's read through this this query here. So it says using the newly created tables, create a query that displays the member number, the concatenated member name in the format of Doe John, and the consultant number assigned to the member, and putting the null values last. The headings for this query will appear as follows. So it's giving us some headings that we have to use, such as member number, concatenated member name, consultant number. Okay. And the concatenated member name must be set at a length of 20. And there's no need to join the tables for this question, which is true. You don't actually have to do a join for this one. All right, so let's go back to developer and we can crank out this this query here. Okay, I'm gonna open up a new file. Okay, now actually before I do that, that's question 4, and when we look at the assignment here, we notice that Lab 3 Part A is applicable to questions 2 to 4. So that is this SQL file, so I'm going to download this. Okay. And the nice thing about this assignment is that these files only contain 2 tables. So it's not like that, you have to scroll through a whole list of tables to try to figure out what to do. So we've got an employee table and a member table. So basically, we just need to only we can just do this query using the member table. So we're gonna do the member number, we're gonna do a concatenation of the member first name and member last name, and then we're gonna also do the consultant number. And if the consultant number may or may not have a value, it could be null. We can see all of these different values that are inserted into this table. And some of them are given employees, but some of them are not. They're just given null values, and that's fine. Okay. All right, so I'll move this aside again, and then we can begin doing this query. Now, this, one other thing. This query here, or the creation files, notice here that they're connecting to the AP database. So I previously ran this, so that means I need to go to the AP user, and I will see these tables. So I go to AP, and I can see that I have the Lab 4 employee and Lab 4 member tables available. Now really, it's just the Lab 4 member that I need to use. So I'm gonna do, first I'm gonna connect to the AP user. Oops. And now I am going to begin my query. So select from Lab 4 member. Okay, so I'm selecting from that table, and the columns I want, let's go back to the instructions here. I'm just looking on my other screen. The columns I want are going to be the member number. So let's just see what, okay, so member, no, number, so, okay. Now, because I only have one table, I should be able to just do member number like that. Let's just run this just to make sure this is gonna work. Okay, there we go, yeah, that's good. Okay, so member number, and I need an alias, so I'm gonna go as member number. And I also want now the concatenated member name. So I'm gonna say member first name. And that's the concatenation operator, a space, concatenation operator, and then member last name as, and that's concatenated member name. And the last one is the consultant number. Okay, so let's just try running this to make sure I haven't made too many errors so far. Okay, I do have some problems. I think I need double quotes around the column aliases. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so consultant number is invalid. Consultant underscore NO. Okay, it looks like I spelled that wrong. Okay, there we go. So that's working so far. All right, so the last thing, a few more things I need to do. I need to order by putting null values last. Okay, so I need to put the consultant. Let's just see here for a sec. So one of the last things I need to do. So the consultant number assigned to the member and putting the null values last. So to do that, I need to use my order by. So I'm gonna go, I tried to just say nulls last, but that's not gonna work. So order by consultant number. And if I were to do that, what we notice is the null values, well, the null values are actually last. Now, if you wanted them to come first, you could say nulls first. Okay? And now we see that the null values are first. So I'm pretty sure that's what they mean here. Sometimes you have to explicitly say that you want the null values to come last. Now, if I don't order by, if I don't put the consultant column there and I try to run this, that's not going to work. So you definitely need to put a column that you're going to want to order by and then the null values last. Okay, now there's a few more small things here. The concatenated member name must be set at a length of 20. So to do that, that's just a formatting command. So column. And this is part of what we'll be covering in our next topic, is basically what's called report formatting. So I would say column, and then I would say yeah. And then I would use the format A20. So that's basically just saying that the column is going to have a width of 20 characters. Okay, and what we can see, looking at the concatenated member name here, after I added that, I could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, that's more than 20. Okay, let's say if I go A50. No. All right, so I just did. I just sort of did a quick refresher, and I think that some of these formatting commands, these reporting commands, they tend not to work in developer. And when we do the report formatting, we're going to have to start working in SQL+. So let me just demonstrate this to you. I'm going to go here and I can open up SQL+, and I log in with my system, and now I can execute whatever commands I want. Now I'm going to connect to the AP database. Okay, there we go. And let's go and we're going to copy what I have here. So I'm going to take this query and I'll just paste it into my SQL+, and I can run it, and you can see the results here. Now this time if I do go and count, that there is 20, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so let's change this now. So let's change the actual width. So let's change this to 50, let's say. And I'll copy this once again. Okay, and I'll run this. All right, now we can see that the concatenated member name is much, much longer. Okay, now so obviously the format of the column is now actually taking place. So we'll be doing a lot more of this in a future topic, but it's just something to keep in mind, and that's what they're asking for in that question, is just to specify formatting for that column. So they want a width of 20. Okay. All right. Okay. So this question now is pretty much done. I think I've got it correct. I guess the only other thing that I was thinking though is let's modify this question to make it a little bit more interesting. So let's say that we're going to keep this question, but now we also want to put the consultant, not just the consultant number, but we also want to put the consultant first name, okay? So keep in mind, if we go back to the member table, we have a member number, we have a member first and last name, and then their consultant. And basically the constraint there is that that consultant is going to be a foreign key for the employee table, okay? So we see that it's a foreign key for the employee table. And it has to match with the employee number for it to be correct. Okay. So now if I want to do this, I have to join the tables. So if I decided I was going to do a regular inner join, I would go join lab for employee on. Now I'm going to add table aliases. So M is going to be for member and E is going to be for employee. So now I'm going to go and put m.member number and m.member first name, m.member last name, and for consultant number, that's going to be m.consultant number. And I want to join these tables on m.consultant num equals e.employee number. Okay, so those should be joined. And now I can also include my, let's just go with first name for the consultant. So it's going to be e dot employee first name as consultant name. Okay, so let's run this. And remember, before we ended up with 11 rows, all right? So we could see every member, and we could also see who their consultant was if they had one. So now I'll run this query, and now I'm getting what I wanted. I'm getting the member name, and I'm getting their consultant, but now I'm not seeing all of those other members. Any member that doesn't have a consultant, I don't see. And that's not really what I wanted, right? The original query, I wanted to see every member, right? So this is a good situation to illustrate that for this case, we don't want to use an inner join or an equijoin. We want to use an outer join here. So if I change this to, instead of being a inner join, I'm going to say it is a left outer join. Now, because it's a left outer join, the table on the left, the members, is going to include every row, whether or not it has a matching employee or not. So now when I run this, I'm going to get, I'm going to get an error. What did I do? Okay, I think I just, okay, here we go. Okay, I just clicked the wrong button. Now I'm going to get my 11 rows again. And I can see that I have all of the members, whether or not they had a consultant or not. And for the ones that do, I'm now actually joining that data and getting the consultant name from the employee table, all right? So I think this example really illustrates the power of, and when you would want to use a left outer join as opposed to a more inner join, all right? So this situation obviously calls for the left outer join. All right, well, that's gonna be it. You guys have a good weekend. Good luck getting your assignments done. And make sure you guys check out Teams. Go into your calendar. You should be able to see the class. And hopefully we have a good class on Monday. It should be interesting. A bit of a change for me to do the classes live. So now you guys will get to see all my bloopers. I can't edit them out. But I think it'll be, we definitely need to start doing more live stuff and get away from the YouTube, I think. Because especially with an exam coming up, you guys need a chance to be able to ask me questions and let me know what you're struggling with. Okay, well anyway, have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday.